I'm a freelance filmmaker, and 12 months ago, I moved from Seattle, Washington to Portland, Oregon. I was originally fairly concerned about being able to pay bills, like how am I going to get work? It's all based off a network, But I actually ended up making just shy of $80,000, and in this video, for those that are moving or for those that just want to figure out how to get more work, I'm going to be showing you really transparently how I made that money. Over the past year, I've released 16 blog posts, half of which I've actually had content of me on camera, talking to you. This content is critical for my success for multiple reasons. The blogs help people get to know who I am before they meet me in person, they show what I'm capable of as a storyteller, and they allow people to follow along on my journey. Creating content with me in front of the camera instead of behind the camera has actually been a huge key to my success this last year. People can actually get to know who I am without physically meeting me. That said, networking and shaking hands is still a huge part of the equation. In the past year, I had 26 lunch meetings, 38 coffee meetings, 32 video calls, which is kind of the COVID-19 equivalent of grabbing coffee with a stranger, and I attended 8 in-person networking events. All of that led to 46 gigs. At those 26 lunch meetings and 38 coffee meetings, I spent $852 on food and beverages. Well, I landed 46 gigs as a result of all that, right? So, seems like a pretty good ratio. Let's do some math. I made $78,000 from 46 gigs. So that is an average of $1,696 per gig, which is great. That's a solid number to be hitting. If I take $852, which is what I spent on networking food and beverages, then divide that by the 46 gigs I had, that's $18.52 in networking costs per gig. On average, I spent $18.52 on networking in order to get a job that paid me $1,696. That means that on average, I am making $1,677.48 for every job I take. We're not going to dive into costs like overhead, gear upkeep, or taxes in this video, but you should remember that this number is not pure profit. If we truly want to determine the value of all those meetings, we need to take a step back and look at how I actually got those 46 gigs in the first place. 36 of the 46 gigs, or 78%, came from my Seattle network. That means that someone from Seattle either hired me or referred me to a client here in Portland. My first Portland job with no relation to my Seattle network came 222 days after I moved here. Let that sink in for a moment. It took 7 months and 8 days for me to get my first job that had no relation to my Seattle network. Now that is either depressing because it took over half a year, or it's amazing because all of that networking does eventually pay off. I asked some friends of mine who they last hired as contractors. Here's what they said.
The last contractor I hired was somebody that I knew, and it did affect the way that we did our business together, not only because I could trust the person more, but because the person understood what kind of product I was looking for.
I've always looked to hire within my network because it just makes me feel better, and it just makes the whole process faster. And not faster, but like just more fun.
Knowing him previously absolutely affected my experience in a positive way. Going into the situation, I knew exactly what to expect, so I was super comfortable. There were no surprises, and I think that that's probably the best situation that you can hope for when you hire a contractor.
It was good because there was a connection, because we already, we went to the same program at the same school, so I felt that connection there, and they delivered, high quality work, and I was really pleased with it.
I am someone who definitely recommends hiring within your network.
I'm personally starting to believe that the phrase, "it's all about who you know," matters way more than we think it does. Let's take this a step further and ask the question, who referred me to those 46 gigs? Friends, work colleagues, grad school associates, and networking connections are a vast majority of who hired me. I only had one project this entire year that came from a complete stranger who found me through social media. This means that 98% of my work came from people that personally knew me or were referred to me by a friend. And with that, we are full circle. We are back to why I create content showcasing who I am. In essence, my online content grows my network. And my network is how I get hired. You can and should be doing the same thing. Get your content out there. Tell your story. They can't hire you if they don't know that you exist. I've got one last insight for you. Take a look at this diagram that breaks down every gig I had and whether or not the client mentioned my blog content. No one mentioned my branded content in the beginning because I didn't have much online traction. People weren't following me. But now, people mention my blogs all the time. Early on in my filmmaking career, I thought that being technically oriented was how you got work. And yes, I do get hired because I'm talented with a camera and lights and can make things look nice. But at the end of the day, people hire me because I tell compelling stories and because I have an extensive network. But what do you do with all of this information? You need to become someone that they know. How do you do that? Blogging, posting behind the scenes photos, putting yourself out there, cold emailing, going to networking events and shaking hands, even if it makes you sweat. Because they have to know you in order to hire you. Thank you for watching. I genuinely hope that this video was helpful to you. I tried being as transparent and vulnerable as possible, sharing how much money I made over the last year. It took me 222 days to get hired in Portland with no Seattle connection involved. If you want more of that type of stuff, subscribe, hit the like button, share it with people, check out the blog, whatever works for you. It genuinely is appreciated. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Until next time. Rusty, come here.